and welcome to our top 7 thrill rides at Walt Disney World Resort. We'll be counting down our 7 most top rides, what we recommend from bottom to the top. So our 7th top ride is Aerosmith Rock and Roller Coaster. That's one that you've done, isn't it?
It is, yes.
So what did you think to that?
It's a very good ride. It's still quite old-fashioned, and I think that's why Disney are thinking of redoing it. But basically, you kind of enter the ride. The queues were quite long when I did it, but we were obviously there at quite a busy time of year. But you enter the ride. You go into what seems like you're watching them in a recording session. Recording in a recording studio, doing music. The tour manager comes in and basically tells them that they've got one of their gigs that night and they better hurry up because it's coming up to the time when they need to be there. And then they basically invite you along to go and watch them, like a VIP sort of gig thing. And the roller coaster part element of the ride is kind of like an extended limousine car. So then once you've done all that bit, it's kind of a little bit of an information thing at the beginning. You then walk down towards the actual ride. You get on it, and it's kind of got a 3, 2, 1 kind of motion, and then it kind of flings you off into the ride. So it's basically like you loop the loops, you're upside down, you're round and round. It's all in darkness. There's lots and lots of flashing lights. You can kind of every now and again get a glimpse of the track that you're following round, but it's quite dark in there. A little bit like Space Mountain. But you've got the element of the Aerosmith music playing in the background, which is quite fun, especially if you're an Aerosmith fan. It's quite quick. It's not a very long ride, but it's still good enough to be classed as a thrill ride.
Definitely. And like Katie said, that'll be changing its theming, and they'll be doing a different ride overlay soon. So it's definitely worth getting a fast pass, isn't it? To check it out. I
think that's probably why it was quite busy when I went on there, because obviously people have heard the news that they will be doing a different overlay, so they want to get in and do the Aerosmith element of it before it goes.
Brilliant. So moving on to number 6, and that is Splash Mountain. Now that's been at Disney World Resort for quite a while. It's in Magic Kingdom, obviously, and that's in Critter Country in Frontierland. Basically, it's a bit of a mixture of a dart ride and thrill ride. So obviously, the ride ascends to a height where it basically goes into the dart ride segment, which is basically based on the film Song of the South.
It's quite an old film.
Yeah.
It's the film that features the song Zippity Doo Dah, isn't it?
That's it, yeah, that's the one. So you've got a few animatronics in there, and it basically is sort of on a slow river going through the actual set, as it were. Before then, the biggest part of the ride, which is the final drop at the end. So it's I kind of like, I would say it's a bit like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, if you've done that with a little bit of a film theming and the ride within it, but obviously for log flumes, so it's highly likely that you will get wet on this ride. So
there's no highly likely about it. You will get wet. Probably least wet if at certain points of the actual cart itself that you sit in.
Yeah, depends where you're sitting.
Depending where you're sitting. But obviously, if you like getting wet, then I'd say probably sit middle to front.
Yeah, I'll drop in some footage from our vlogs. Basically, we were watching for a while, weren't we? Them descending down, and you see the odd 1 or 2 cars basically get away with virtually nothing, and then one would get absolutely soaked, like the whole thing. And yeah, everyone was quite a sort of, ooh, weren't they? So yeah, it's definitely one, especially if it's a hot day. It'll be much needed relief from the heat. Definitely one to do, and that's at number 6. So in at number 5 is, of course, Thunder Mountain. So this is basically virtually next door to Splash Mountain, and is of the same sort of Western Frontierland theming. Basically, it's a mine train that's running out of control.
A runaway train.
So you sort of go in and around, up and down. There's no loops or anything. It's just sort of sudden drops and climbs and whatnot, and sharp turns, corners. Basically, it does give you, sort of a bit of G-force, isn't it? You can say, but it's nothing that would turn your stomach, as it were.
It's rated as a ride that you can take younger kids on, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's got high restriction. Alithia couldn't go on it this time round, but she'll probably be able to go on it next time round.
Yeah.
Because she'll be that little bit taller.
Yeah, 40 inches I think is,
yeah.
And it does say kids, teens and adults it's recommended for.
So it's not overly scary.
No, it's just a sort of, it's probably a good ride to start off with, to wake you up, as it sort of basically give you a little bit of thrill to get you into the spirit, but nothing too intense. And then in at number 4, we're off to Animal Kingdom for Expedition Everest, and that's something that you've enjoyed.
Yeah. So again, it's a little bit like your Splash Mountains and Thunder Mountains. So you're kind of going up a massive incline up a mountain. It's a snow-covered mountain this time round though, and you're heading up into the mountains, looking out for the Yeti. Is it the Yeti?
Yeti, yeah.
Or like the snow Bigfoot, whatever you want to call him. Halfway around the ride, you kind of get to a point where the track looks like it's kind of coming at you, and you stop and you're like, oh my gosh, where am I going to go now? And then it launches you backwards, back down the mountain, backwards. It's quite a fast ride. It's quite scary. There's quite a few elements of fright in there because of the Yeti sounds, and obviously the big bad Yeti coming at you. So it's probably not recommended for the smaller children, but that's why it's so high on our list, because it's quite the thrill ride. I definitely enjoyed it, and I'll be going on it time and time again.
So in at number 3, we're back over to the Magic Kingdom for Space Mountain. Now Space Mountain is situated in Tomorrowland, and basically it's a ride that this person here convinced me was a nice, gentle ride when I didn't know a lot about Disney World. And yes, how wrong was I?
I'd been on it when I was quite a lot younger, over in Disneyland Paris. It's probably a little bit more thrilling in Disney World. But yeah, I managed to tell Stephen, oh, you'll love it. Not really realising that you weren't that keen on going upside down. And being in dark, enclosed spaces, and nearly falling out the ride.
Not wanting to put people off, but yeah,
no.
That's how it was in my head. Probably a little bit more dramatic than what it actually is.
Yeah, it's not that bad. I've been on it several times, and yeah, it's fine.
But it is quite thrilling, and you're totally in the dark, so your mind does kind of wonder what you're doing. The sudden sharp twists and turns, aren't they?
Upside downs, loop to loops again. But yeah, there's again random flashes of light, so every now and again you can kind of see where the track is, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going upside down in a minute. But it's very spacey themed. I think, if I can remember rightly, there's quite a lot of space elements within it as well, like as if you are actually up in space and you're on a runaway rocket almost, I think. Yeah.
And if you're ever doing the not so scary Halloween party, they do actually completely turn the lights off, so you're in just total darkness.
I cannot wait for that.
So yeah, that's Space Mountain in at number 3. So staying in at Magic Kingdom, in at number 2 is the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Now this is one that I absolutely love. Unfortunately, I've only ever got to watch it in real life and on vlogs. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to do it because, well, it is quite hard to get a fast pass, and obviously, we didn't get the time, unfortunately, did we?
With spates of illness and all that lot, we just weren't there long enough to kind of warrant queuing up for it. But we will do it next time,
we will
for
do
sure.
It,
we'll make sure we get a fast pass or just stand in the queue, because Alithia will be able to go on it next time.
So it's probably one of the newest rides because it's in New Fantasyland, and basically it's heavily filmed on the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, obviously, and it's a little bit like the Thunder Mountain, I'd say, where you're on a sort of runaway mine train. You got your corners, the up and downs and whatnot. One of the stops, it pulls outside Snow White's cottage, or the Seven Dwarfs cottage I should say, to see Snow White in there, and basically it's full of animatronics, and with the familiar sounds and songs of the Snow White film playing, and then it moves off again towards the end of the ride. So pretty much Thunder Mountain with extra Snow White theming, so definitely one to do. Get a fast pass for if you can. That'd be one of the first fast passes I'll be getting in to make sure I get one, and yeah, it's definitely worth the while. Standby lines, you can get a good standby time if you go in early into the park. Probably one that I would, if you're doing rope drop, make straight for. It does also have rider/parent switch as well, which is something to
look out for.
Definitely look out for, yeah. And our number one top thrill ride in the Walt Disney World Resort, we head off to Animal Kingdom, Pandora, and you probably guessed it, Flights of Passage. Now basically this is, it's not an actual physical roller coaster, is it? It's more of a sort of simulator, but wow, what a thrill ride it is. You walk into a heavy Avatar theming, and then you're linked to your avatar, and then when that process is done, you then go through to the next room where you basically put all your stuff safely in a locker and then sit on it. It's a bit like a motorbike, I would say. It's the pod basically that transfers you onto your Banshee, and then basically you sit on that, you're strapped in, and then next minute the whole lot, it just transfers into this great big virtual area. It's a bit like soaring basically, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot like soaring, but you're kind of there on your own rather than sat on like a giant swing. And the fact that you're sat on, like Stephen said, the kind of motorbike feeling seat, it kind of makes you actually feel like you're sat there on your Banshee, flying around. The good thing about it as well is that you physically get splashed every now and again as they get close to the water. You get the wind in your hair, as if you're actually flying through the air. You even kind of get that element of there's points where they squeeze through rock bits, and you kind of, your mind almost makes you feel like you're actually being squeezed through those rocks, and you kind of feel like you got to dodge your head out of the way, and it's a real mind-blowing experience, like mind blown.
It does feel like you're actually there, and you also get the forces that obviously they tilt it, and you get the forces.
Yeah, so when you're going down, like your Banshee's flying down really fast, you get the G-force pull, don't you? That you feel like you're actually going down at that speed. It's very, very clever engineering. I don't know how they do it, but wow, they need to do more like that for sure.
Basically, it's the closest thing you'll ever get in your lifetime to riding a Banshee.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth doing. Now, fast passes are very hard to get.
One.
If you're staying on resort, then you stand a chance. Book it within your 60 days that you're allowed, straight away. If you're staying off resort, then you'll get to book it 30 days in advance. So you might get one if you're in there. If you don't, then keep trying. Sometimes they do become available even on the day. But it is super hard. Now it does have parent rider switch as well,
which we didn't realise until we were there. I think it actually started whilst we were out there, because the first time we went round we didn't see it. The second time we went back, it was there, wasn't it? And there was just this person stood there with a rider switch sign. She was stood opposite the main entrance for the ride, so look out for them there with the parent switch sign. But you have to do it. It's
definitely going to be
obviously the first person is going to have to queue. I was there I think I actually was lucky and got there at a point where it kind of lulled off a little bit and the queues weren't so long.
Yeah, when you
and I managed to get all the way through to the point where the kind of as if you're in the lab area. So there was a lot more to actually look around with. So I was quite lucky that I wasn't just stood in the corridor. Well, the whole thing is heavily based around Avatar, so everything about it is very spectacular to look at. But I think I was lucky enough to kind of walk nicely all the way through to the lab area. You probably didn't see that because you went through the fast pass line. So actually, if you do get to parent swap, take it in turns. You know, go back and do another parent swap another day, and then take it in turns so that you both get to experience both lines. Because actually, the main standby line is fantastic to just look through, and you probably, if we were to do it again, well, I say if, when we are to do it again in the future, you know, if we were to do parent swap again, because we weren't lucky enough to get a fast pass, then I would probably let Stephen go do the standby line first so he can experience that.
Yeah, I mean, so for those of you who unfortunately couldn't get a fast pass for it or are not eligible for rider switch, it is definitely worth doing still, even if you have to do standby. And then the standby lines can be long at times. If you've got the My Disney Experience app, then definitely keep an eye on it on the actual wait times. But like Katie said, even the line, if you like, is interesting. It's really well themed. And I would say it's part of the experience. I mean, this is obviously what Disney World are achieving now, making the lines more interesting. So
they know that their queues are huge. They know that people are, you know, having to stand there and queue. You know, it's getting busier for them. They're trying out new things all the time, and the crowds are huge there. You know, these days. So I'm glad that Disney are putting the time and effort and mind into making the lines as interesting as the rides sometimes.
So that's why we rated it number 1. So definitely go do that if you're heading off to Walt Disney World Resort. Okay, so thanks for watching our top 7 thrill rides at Walt Disney World Resort. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, we do appreciate it. And also, if there's any particular rides that you like, don't forget to mention in the comments below to help other holiday makers.